Hi guys, welcome back. Or if it's your first time here, I'm Tim Box, I'm a mind coach, and I teach people how to get control of their own thoughts, feelings, and responses. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how, by understanding the motivations and drivers behind our own emotions, we can utilize that understanding to get a better control of them. To do this, I'm going to be breaking down the very simple model I use with clients called the ship. Now, if you've seen my TED Talk, you'll be familiar with the ship analogy, and it's one of the concepts that seems to have most resonated with people. So in this video, I'm going to take a deeper dive into that idea and expand on it to give you a very simple plan for getting full control of the way you think, feel, and behave, and how you ultimately become the captain of your ship. Okay, so whenever I'm working one-to-one with clients, whether that's to reduce anxiety, get past depression, increase confidence or self-esteem, or any of the other emotional and behavioral issues I work with, I always encourage them to think of the mind like a ship. Now, every ship has a captain and a crew. In this analogy, the captain is your logical, conscious mind, the part of your thinking that knows where you're going, why you're going there, and has a fair idea of how you think you're going to get there. Unfortunately, the part of your mind that has its hands on all the things that steer and sail your ship, that's the crew. Your crew represents your subconscious. Now, the way your crew sail your ship is by triggering emotions. So for example, if your crew regards something as dangerous, they will trigger fear. Fear manifests as a particular type of discomfort that encourages us to move away from the perceived danger to once again feel comfortable. It's just an example of how your crew sail your ship where they feel it needs to go. Now, of course, in an ideal world, your crew would just be listening to the captain. You'd decide you wanted to achieve something and the crew would say, "Aye, aye, captain," and trigger all the appropriate emotional responses to get you towards your goal or destination. But of course, most of us are all too aware that the crew don't always seem to be listening and are often, it feels like, doing their own thing. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where you know you should feel a certain way, but for some reason you feel very differently, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But when we perceive our own mind as, for some reason, deliberately sabotaging our happiness, there's one thing that we often fail to appreciate. Your crew are all hardwired to be looking for the best strategy for the most happiness. Happiness is the emotion that tells us we're currently satisfied with the direction the ship's sailing in and we don't need to correct our course in any way. Happiness is the moment your crew can kind of put their feet up and just enjoy the journey. No matter what emotion we might currently be experiencing, it's all designed to steer us towards happiness. Now, I realise some will try and tell us that our subconscious is only designed to keep us safe and that survival is the primary purpose of our crew. Safety overrides happiness. But if we dig a little bit deeper into that idea, it doesn't stand up to investigation. If safety were the primary goal, then you wouldn't see people jumping out of aeroplanes just for the thrills, because it's safer to stay in the plane. Not as exciting, but it ticks the safety and survival requirement box to not jump out of the plane. Bungee jumping wouldn't be a thing, because it's safer to not leap off of a bridge with an elastic band tied around your ankles, although I'm guessing not as thrilling and emotionally stimulating. Perhaps most tellingly, if safety and survival were the primary priority of our subconscious, then you wouldn't see people ending their own lives. Their crew just wouldn't allow it, but we know that at times, unfortunately, they do. They do this when we no longer see the possibility of any future happiness. If where we are is pain and we see no other place to travel towards, then we might conclude we should just sink the ship. Don't get me wrong, safety is important and we have a very powerful automatic survival response that can kick in at times. But be aware that most of the time, safety is important because it's a key component element of happiness. We can't feel happy if we don't feel safe. This is why we sometimes mistake safety as our crew's primary function, but understanding that happiness is the goal towards which our crew is sailing is important when it comes to understanding and ultimately managing them. If we work with the assumption that whatever our crew are doing in terms of the thoughts they're giving us or the emotions they're triggering in us, they are trying to steer us in some way towards happiness, in short, they're trying to help, then we never have to regard them as our enemy, and we will never mistake our mind's intentions as malevolent. In this way, we stand a much better chance of working with our crew to correct our course in the way our conscious mind would like us to. Whenever I work with clients, our goal is to interact with their crew in a positive way and enable their subconscious to develop better strategies that more effectively steer their ship towards happiness. But it's important to remember that we are constantly talking to our crew, and they're constantly talking to us, the captain. How we manage the captain and crew relationship is the key to getting control of the way we think, feel, and behave. So with that in mind, here are my 3 top tips for maintaining and interacting with your crew in a productive fashion and ultimately getting your own mind back on the path to happiness. Number 1, listen to your crew. It might sound obvious, but when our mind is telling us things we'd rather not hear or making us feel how we'd rather not feel, it's quite common for us to try and suppress or avoid those thoughts or emotions and push them away. We might engage in distraction activities or comfort strategies in an attempt to take our focus away from what we perceive to be our emotional problem or our psychological issue. Anxiety is a great example of this. Our crew tell us what they're concerned about by triggering anxiety about a certain thought or situation, but we hate the thoughts and the feelings so much that we do all we can to ignore them and push them away. The more we ignore the crew, the louder they'll feel they need to shout to get the captain's attention. This is often why anxiety starts to scream at us. All it is our crew regarding something as important. They're not going to just shut up and go away if there's a message that needs to be heard that isn't being addressed. Number 2, don't be ashamed or freaked out if they're wrong. So it's important to be aware that our crew will get things wrong on a daily basis. That's not because we're broken or ill, that's because we're human beings. We are, by definition, imperfect. And yeah, we get shit wrong. Also, our crew have learnt various jobs, taken certain roles and regarded certain things about ourselves and the world in general as true, based on things they learned from a very early age. The first 8 or 9 years of our life, we don't really have a functioning captain on board, and our crew are just trying to sponge up as much information as possible to learn how to keep the ship afloat. It's okay that we will often feel a certain way based on old learnings. Our crew might find themselves engaged in emotional strategies, such as fear or anxiety, that were designed to protect the helpless, naive child, rather than the now experienced and resourceful adult. And that's okay. This is why we're safe to listen to the crew, because we can accept it's okay if that not every thought or concern seems entirely valid or helpful. Our crew aren't looking to freak us out with negative thoughts, they're experiencing fears that need the captain's guidance and attention. Okay, number 3, be kind. All too often we get angry with ourselves for feeling a certain way. We beat ourselves up for our shortcomings and failings. We might even chastise ourselves for how we feel. All we're doing there is shouting at our crew for trying their best. Our mind isn't deliberately getting stuff wrong. Our crew just at times need to learn something new. They won't learn anything by us beating them up for their mistakes. All we'll do then is destroy morale aboard our ship, and many of us have done this repeatedly over the years. Put simply, if you beat yourself up, you just end up beaten. Because the bottom line here is that no matter what your mind is telling you and how the crew are making you feel, they're always seeking to find happiness. Even when we find ourselves thinking horrible thoughts about our own lack of worth or ability, it's simply a member of our crew reminding us of our perceived limitations, with the aim of helping prevent us from putting ourselves in a situation that would lead to a bad or unhappy experience. So you don't need to beat yourself up. Your crew are already trying their hardest and doing their best. Shouting won't help them become better. To help our crew do better, we need to do one final thing, and that is to be the captain of our ship. What I mean by this? We sometimes get the idea that the captain's job here is to keep the crew in line and push them to do better. In truth, the captain's duty is the care of the ship, and the ship only stays afloat thanks to the crew. A good captain will work with the crew and create a good environment aboard the ship. A good captain will motivate rather than castigate, and listen before speaking. A good captain will always seek first to understand the challenges the crew face, and then work with them to find solutions. When a crew member comes to you with a concern, your role as captain is not to freak out. If the fear or concern seems justified, then we instigate the action required to address the concern. If it seems unfounded and invalid, then the captain's role is to re-educate and guide the crew member and allow it to just get back to sailing the ship. Don't be afraid of what your mind is telling you. It's just a part of you that hasn't realized that you can actually handle this. Remind that part of your qualities and your ability to cope with life's challenges. It's very possible you've feared what your crew might tell you for a long time, to the point where you've started to believe them and their concerns. The secret here is that they don't actually want any of these thoughts to be true. They just fear they might be. If you freak out at those thoughts, you validate that opinion and in some way strengthen it. If you recognize them as just thoughts coming from a part of you that needs reassurance, then you have nothing to fear from them, and you can do that process of captaining your crew. Guys, I hope this video has been useful. Let me know in the comments what you thought and tell me what you might change about how you interact with your crew from now on. Before you head off, remember, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more videos about managing your own mind. I'm Tim Box. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.